We're back out on the bass buggy, and today we're talking about how I can take a fluke and turn it into my secret weapon for September fishing. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. It's not too bad. It's a good fish.
Another keeper if we were keeping the cooler.
Yep, beautiful fish, beautiful little fish. That's not bad, about a pound.
Blew up on me.
Pound and a half, that's about a pound and a half.
Pop out of the water.
Yeah, you got a top water blow up.
That was him hitting the bait, yeah.
Good job. Well, your fluke's floating because you're running it weightless.
Yeah, it comes up whenever you draw it in.
Mm-hmm. You're running it like a jerk bait, right?
No, I'm crank, dead. Crank, dead.
Okay.
So it's pull it up to the top, let it drop.
Okay. Welcome back to lowbrow fishing. And you know, the month of September can be the hardest time of year to go out there and catch a bass. The water's still warm, so those fish just aren't feeling it a lot of times. And those large summer schools are busting up as those bass transition into the fall months. So even when you can find some fish, a lot of times they don't want to bite. That's why a lot of anglers, including myself, will pull out one of these. A fluke, or a soft plastic jerkbait, depending on how you want to call it. These things are great. They're versatile and they're subtle. They're just exactly what the doctor ordered when it comes to catching those stubborn and lethargic September bass. That's why on everybody's September bait list, you'll see a fluke. Myself, I have 3 ways that I like to fish these in the month of September, including a super secret 4th way that is my secret weapon for getting the job done when that fishing gets really tough. So what makes these so effective? Well, it's that tail. It's got a lot of action and a lot of flick to it, but it doesn't move a lot of water. It's a very sight-oriented bait. It works great, not just by itself, but as a trailer for a spinner bait, or on a jig, or for various other presentations. One of the staples of rigging a fluke is like this. Just Texas rig it. Here I've got a heavy gauge 4/0 hook, EWG extra wide gap, and I've just got a fluke Texas rig. The weight of the hook is the only weight that I have. This will cause it to fall slowly through the water. It kind of flutters as it goes down, back and forth. That very much mimics a dying shad or shiner or other bait fish. And since the fish are very lethargic and they don't feel like chasing much, it's a very enticing meal. If you can get this close to a fish's mouth, you have a good chance of getting that fish to bite. And that's why whenever September rolls around, a lot of anglers Texas rig a fluke weightless and throw it out there. And it's very, very successful. Pop it up and let it fall down. Pop it up and then let it fall down. You just let that dying action do all the work for you. It's an amazing presentation, and it really does catch a lot of those stubborn and hard to get bass. Good one?
He's decent. He's fighting real good. Come here, you.
Good fish. Good fish. All right. Yeah, that's actually a good one. That's a real good one. That's a beautiful color and everything. Look at that.
He's decent. Mouth's full of grass like everything else being thrown up in here.
Nice. And on the fluke. On the white.
Foul hooked him. Oh no.
Right through the nose.
Ugh.
Well, he was going up for it. Still a decent
He bit
fish.
it, but it's like...
Is that a red eye?
No.
No, that's a good bass though. Good fish.
I got him right through his nostrils. My bad, dude.
Good fish.
Oh, I didn't mean it, bud. Oh no.
Another way that a lot of anglers like to fish it is on a good old drop shot. And this is a fantastic technique. You work it like you would any particular drop shot bait. You let it sit there on the bottom. You just wiggle it and you let that bait jiggle in place. You do your best to try to hold that bait in place and you just jiggle it. And that bait just wiggles. And it becomes a very enticing morsel for any bass in the area. And again, at this time of year, you have to remember, After the shad spawn, after the shiner have all spawned and the bluegill all spawned, the bait fish are going to be getting close to this size. They'll be a little bit smaller, but a lot of them will be around this size. And if this is a bit too big for what you want to fish, well, you can actually downsize the presentation a little bit, as I have done here. As you can see, I've got a Fluke Junior on just a regular 1/0 worm hook. It's not even wide gap. And I have a 1/8 ounce weight here, which I don't have pegged, so that when I'm working it through the water column, that weight falls away and that bait can flutter down on its own. We want that injured bait fish action. That's what's going to get us the bites. But we've got to be slow and we've got to be subtle about it. But something like this is a very, very hard target for a bass to pass up. This is one of the great tricks that I use to get those lethargic fish to bite. I can't tell you how many fish I've caught doing this. And in September, this is a great way to work your fluke. So you can go smaller, you can go lighter. If you want to work this presentation weightless, you can certainly do that. However, bear in mind that any small movement or twitch from your rod is going to impart quite a bit of action to this. So if you are wanting to wait for this to fall all the way down, you twitch it again, it's going to come all the way back up. So you're going to have to bear that in mind. Even on slack line, the slightest amount of effort will cause this thing to move all over the place. Even then, it's a great presentation and you can work it just like a regular jerkbait. Give it a couple of twitches and then just let it sit there. It'll float down real slow. Give it a couple of twitches and then it'll float down there real slow. But again, a little bit of action is going to generate a lot of movement. So you need to keep that in mind when you're working one of these. And last but not least is my secret weapon. And what is it? Well, it's something that I like to work around harder structure. Timber, stumps, rock piles, cinder blocks, man-made debris, any type of dock, any type of break wall, any type of hard edge or hard line. This does very well for me. It works wonders whenever you're having a hard time getting those bass to commit and you know they're there and you know you have their attention, but they just won't commit. Sometimes, even when you know the fish are there and they're not biting, you have to aggravate them. You have to get them mad enough where they'll bite whatever you have. And I do that with this. This is a 1/4 ounce bladed jig that I've made myself. It has a great amount of thump in the water, and I've attached a Zoom Fluke Junior as the trailer, and I've taken the skirt off of it. This is a very pared down presentation. It doesn't really move much water as far as its size, as far as the bulk. There is none. But that blade, and this is the trick, you've got to have a bladed jig that thumps early and thumps loud. The $5 Z-Man chatterbait is not going to work for this. You're going to have something that works better. And the reason being is because I'm not casting this out and reeling it back in. I'm casting it out and I'm jigging it. I'm moving it up and down. I'm giving it jerks and I'm giving it pops and I'm trying to get it to dart side to side. I want to get very erratic action with this, and that is extremely effective. It's noisy, it's loud, it's aggravating, it's annoying, and the bass just hate it. And when I get hit on this thing, it's not a little slap. They inhale it. A lot of times I have to get the pliers to get this thing out of their mouth because they just slurp it up. They hate it and they want it gone. This is my secret weapon for the month of September. It's so easy to make and it's so easy to do. I just took a 1/4 ounce bladed jig, took the skirt off of it, and I put a small Zoom Junior Fluke on here. And because of this tail, not really having any water movement, it just flickers around. It's a very sight-oriented presentation. But this blade, moving very quickly, moving as soon as I pull it, as soon as I impart any action on it whatsoever, that blade is thumping and making noise. So when I'm jerking it around and I'm moving it around and I'm giving it real hard quick jerks and pops and pauses and whatnot, the bass hate that and they just strike it. They go after it like they want to get rid of it instantly. They can't stand to have it around. This is my secret weapon. It works amazingly well. I've been doing it for a few years. It casts well and it skips well. That's one of the things, is I like to skip baits deep back under brush, way back under docks, places that other anglers can't get their baits. And that's how I can fish behind somebody and get the bites that they're not getting, because I can skip baits back in there. It's a skill that you should practice if you can't do it. I guarantee you it will pay immediate dividends if you're fishing behind somebody who can't skip a bait deep under a dock where those fish are hiding and pull out the fish that the other guys are missing. So there you go. There's 3 ways, tried and true methods, of rigging a fluke for September fishing. They work great and they'll catch you plenty of bass. And then there's my 4th super secret way, which is sure to land those big ones that you're hunting. It's my secret weapon that I've been relying on in the month of September and into fall for years. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.